Okay, we are recording live.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. We have an incredible guest for you. Over the past 40 years, she has worked with over 100,000 people in 50 different countries, from Mother Teresa to refugee camps in Ethiopia and the tribes of the threatened rainforest of the Amazon. She was also a featured speaker at the United Nations Beijing Conference, State of the World Forum, and Synthesis Dialogue with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Lynne is the recipient of the prestigious Woman of Distinction Award from the United Nations. She is the co-founder of the Pachamama Alliance, a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to empower indigenous people from the Amazon rainforest to preserve their land and culture and to help us change the dream of the modern world. Please welcome Lynne Twist. Hey, Lynne, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you, Devin and Nigel. My pleasure. My absolute delight.
Well, it's just wonderful having you on our podcast, Lynn. We're so excited. This is, like a person, a keynote, Lynne Twist. Like it's just incredible. Lynn, I met Lynn back in 2009, and I've been attending a gather. It's called Gathering of Titans, but it's an entrepreneurs conclave at MIT in Boston, and I was almost finished with some of these conclave type things, and I was really wondering and pondering about my life and my family and my business at the time, and until two speakers came that session. One was Brother David, who is a Benedictine monk, which was absolutely fabulous, and he shared his life story, and also Lynne Twist. And Lynne, you actually sat beside me at the conclave for about a day or two, because our speakers actually take part in the whole thing. And you sat beside me and we were chatting, and I had no idea who you were. To be honest, I had no idea who you were. And then you got up and you kind of touched me on the shoulder, and you kind of went up and did your talk. And I was like, okay, I wonder what she has to talk about. And you started talking about your book and your movement called The Soul of Money. And I was just so in awe of what you were saying, what your message was, and what you had accomplished in your life, and how you gave your life to giving. And I was having a tough time with my life. I had this business and I was wondering if I should sell it or not. And I was really in a bit of a struggle. And then what you did is you invited us to come deep into the Amazon rainforest with you, because you were working with a tribe called the Ashwar, and you had formed a group, another movement called the Pachamama Alliance, that worked with indigenous people of the Amazon to help preserve their way of life and, share their ways with the rest of the Western world. And you had invited us to come, and I had my hand up as high as I could, and we were so fortunate to go on that journey. And that journey with you in 2010. So this was now in 2010, the following summer, we went and we took our family of 5 deep in the Amazon rainforest with yourself, with Daniel Cooperman and some other people from my class. And that journey changed our whole family's lives forever. And the only reason, I'd say one of the big reasons that we're doing this podcast is because of you inviting us to go there. And there's a painting behind Devin. I don't know if anybody can see it, but the painting behind Devin is a painting of the picture of the eagle and a condor prophecy from deep inside the Amazon rainforest that we heard about from the Ashwar people. So I don't know, where to. Let's start with your Soul of Money, your book, The Soul of Money. I've recommended it and I've given it to so many people, and it has changed their world. And I thank you so much for that. And if you just want to just give us a little thread or a few threads on your book and the meaning of your book.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Nigel and Devin. Oh my God, this is so wonderful to hang out with you guys, even on Zoom.
Yes.
Well, the soul of money is actually, money doesn't really have soul, but we do. And we can connect our soul to money so that money isn't such a pariah in the world. So many people suffer, really, most everybody, in their relationship with money. They feel bad about it, even if they have massive amounts of money. They feel bad about that. They know they don't really deserve it, et cetera. So from the people who are trying to rub 2 nickels together and pay rent and can't do it, or homeless people, all the way to the billionaires, I have really not met anyone who's not anxious, upset, hurt, wounded in their relationship with money.
Mm.
And I learned all that from being a fundraiser and a philanthropist. And I fundraised, as you know, because I fundraise from you all the time, for the Hunger Project, working on the eradication of world hunger, and traveling in every part of the world that most people would call poor, but I would call the less consuming part of the world, the part of the world where family comes first, the part of the world where they don't have access to the economy, so they're not as haunted by it. And I learned so much from people living in those conditions. And then in order to work with them and to be effective with them, we also were responsible for raising money for the Hunger Project, for ending world hunger. And that took me to some of the wealthiest countries on earth,
Yeah.
and kind of like everything in between. And in those many, many zillions of conversations, I learned about people's angst, upset, incredible wounds and hurts and baggage in their relationship with money. And whether it was the people in Switzerland or the people in Italy or the people in China or the people in Bangladesh or the people in sub-Saharan Africa, in Guinea-Bissau or Zimbabwe, people are struggling in their relationship with money. And I began to see underneath it all that we live in a mindset, a lie of scarcity, that we actually have a unconscious, unexamined, really unconscious, unexamined, strong belief that we don't, I almost don't know where it comes from, but it's rampant, that there's not enough to go around and somebody's going to be left out, and you have to make sure it's not you. And so you can accumulate more than you need, even if it's at the expense of other people. And that kind of mindset drives a culture that has us be inconsistent with our humanity.
Right.
And through studying with Buckminster Fuller, I discovered that actually the world is a place where there's enough for everyone.
Yeah.
You don't need to make it at my expense. I don't need to make it at your expense. You and I can both make it at no one's expense. There's enough for our need, not for our greed, as Gandhi would say.
Yeah.
And so I began to realize that was a message that I didn't hear anywhere. And I thought, well, maybe I'm the carrier of it.
Right.
So I wrote the book, The Soul of Money, really looking at the principle of sufficiency, which is enough, rather than the mindset of scarcity. And that's what I talked about when I came to the Gathering of Titans.
And you shared a beautiful story, and I'm not sure if it was at our class or when we were somewhere else, but you shared a beautiful story of when you were fundraising, I believe, for the Hunger Project, and you had a meeting with an owner or CEO of a very large American corporation, and you were going in to pick up the check. So there's that story that then went, and I think after that, then you flew somewhere else, and then you met with a small little, I don't know if it was a church congregation with some people that didn't have. So that story, I don't know if you want to share, if you remember, that story.
Oh, of course,
yeah, I know you know that story backwards, and it riveted me. And I don't know if you want to share that, a little bit of that.
Well, I'll give you the short version.
Sure.
But I was going to meet with a food company, the largest food company on earth at the time. I won't say the name of it, but and they were in a huge scandal, and their stock was plummeting, and it was all over the news. And so the CEO asked for a meeting with the Hunger Project, and when I went to his office, he produced a check for $50,000. But the encounter I had with him was very unsatisfying. First of all, the company was in a huge battle. They'd done terrible, terrible things, and it got revealed. And when he passed the check, this $50,000 check, which had already been made out, passed it across the desk, this giant executive desk, from his side of the desk to my side of the desk, I could feel the guilt and shame and wrongdoing of the company being offloaded through this $50,000 check over to my side of the desk. In other words, they were kind of trying to buy their way out of the scandal and use this contribution to ending world hunger to make themselves look legitimate, when in fact they'd done terrible things. And so it was kind of like, I don't know, it was dirty money. I don't know. I felt like almost like sick to my stomach taking the check. But at that time, this is in the 70s, that was the biggest contribution we'd ever received. I was, kind of like horrified and thrilled, but really sickened by it. And so that same day, that was early in the morning, I flew to New York and had a meeting in a Harlem church basement on a rainy, rainy night in New York. And the room was filled with African American people, beautiful Black people who were
Yeah.
church going Black people in the basement of their beloved church, raining outside. And I even though there wasn't obviously a lot of financial resources there, it was the same day. And when I looked at these beautiful people, I realized they're the people who really know about heart and generosity and truth and integrity. And yet they're probably not able to give much, but I'm going to give them a chance to participate too. And so I asked them if they wanted to contribute to the Hunger Project. And one woman, whose name is Gertrude, so she's an unforgettable person in my life. She was probably 70 years old at the time, a Black woman, very slender, with gray hair, and she was wearing a maid's uniform and wearing a raincoat, and she had a little purse on her arm, and she stood up and she said, money is just like water. It doesn't belong to any of us. It belongs to all of us or none of us. And it just moves through the world, she said, just like water. That's why they call it a currency, because it's a current. And she said, it carries the imprimatur of the last person who held it. It's a carrier. It can carry disease. It can carry hatred. It can carry greed. Or it can carry love, commitment, courage. Money's innocent. It's how we use it that matters. And she said, it's just like water. It can, when people hoard it, it becomes stagnant and makes them sick. But when they let it flow, it creates growth. It cleanses. It purifies. It makes the world green. And I have $50, she said, in my purse that I got from doing wash, which is my job. I do people's wash. And it's mine. And I know that I'm just the trustee of it for the moment. And I'm going to give it to you for ending world hunger. That's where I think this money really belongs. And she was starting to, be so incredibly inspiring that I started crying. And she moved from her where she was standing in her chair, right next to her chair. She moved up the aisle, walked slowly up the aisle, taking $50 out of her purse, and fives and ones, and there was some change. She handed me this $50, and it was the same day that I'd gotten the $50,000 check from the executive that morning, and that check was in my briefcase next to me on a table. And I took her $50 in change and put it on top of this. It was yellow. I remember the one of those computer checks that was face down in my briefcase, and I put her $50 on top of the 50,000. And then everybody in the church lined up behind her, 100% of them, 75 people, every single person, one by one, gave me $15, $12, $36, $8, $2. And I collected all that money, and we were crying and hugging, and then they started singing. They went back to their seats, just like a church service, and started singing. And then I had this pile of money in my briefcase on top of that $50,000 kind of bad check. Not a bad check, but, and I realized that, so this is the happy ending. I realized that the money from the church had more power for ending world hunger because it came from commitment and love. It was the carrier, like she said, of their commitment and love, than the $50,000 check. And so I went back to my hotel and I wrote a letter to the executive at the food company, and I sent the $50,000 back. I mean, I can't even believe I did that. We needed that money, but I couldn't hold on to it. The contrast was so stark, so powerful for me. It was almost like a day that God gave me so I would really understand money. And that would be the end of the story. That's a beautiful story right there. And if it ended right there, however, the PS is 2 years later. I was sitting in my office in San Francisco, and the mail people brought in a handwritten envelope from the CEO of the food company, and I opened it up, and he had written me a letter saying, "I'll never forget the return of that check. It baffled me," and the letter that went with it, which I wrote a pretty good letter. And he said, "And now I've been retired for 2 years. I've been following your organization. I want to ask if you will accept my own personal check that comes with my commitment, that comes with my love, that comes with my respect for the work of the Hunger Project for $250,000.
Wow. Yeah.
And of course, I did. I accepted it. So that whole story, and thank you for asking me to tell it, is really the meat of the book, The Soul of Money, really about our relationship with money and how to have it be purified so that we can live in peace and freedom and integrity in our relationship with money rather than trying to accumulate as much as possible at the expense of everybody and everything.
Yeah.
So it
Wow.
was an important day in my life.
Yeah. And when you shared that story, and I think you did share that story with our class, there's
I think I did.
75 business owners, entrepreneurs from all over the United States and Canada and around the world. And the whole room was like full of tears. It was very gripping. And I think it really shook a lot of us. It really, really made a lot of us, stand up and think, what are we doing and why are we doing what we're doing? And we'd had a speaker in, I don't know if it was just before, the year before, Simon Sinek, who talks about your why.
Yes.
And, a lot of people really started thinking about what their why is, their purpose in life after your conversation. So, thank you, so much for sharing that. And then you talked about the Pachamama Alliance, and there's we could have 15 shows with you on talking about all this different stuff. And the Pachamama Alliance is, this other organization that you and your husband and Daniel Cooperman all formed back, a long time ago. And we were so fortunate to be invited with you guys to go deep into the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador to spend time with the Achuar people who had, I don't know when they had contact with the outside world, but 10 years, 15 years before, I can't remember. And I think it was with only your group, and then that became your organization, working together with this group. And actually, what I'll do is I'm going to actually put up right now some little slides just to bring a little bit of bit more meat to what we have. So here's a slide of Lynne, which is fantastic. Great photograph, by the way. And so,
oh my gosh,
we could talk about, our journey was absolutely amazing. This was after the journey. There's a photograph where Lynne and an amazing team in San Francisco put together a large fundraiser every year in November, and we were going down. We would go down with our family, and an amazing event. So here's a photo that I found from the archives of going way back with our, Devin and Keita and Dylan with Lynne. Either awesome before, photo. During, or after the event. I can't remember.
Is that in your house? Oh no, that
was in San Francisco. So we were invited to go deep into the Amazon, and we flew in these little Cessna planes, and we flew for about an hour and a half or something like that. Everybody passed out, fell asleep, flying over this amazing untouched rainforest, untouched by human, untouched by industrialization. We landed on a dirt runway, which was marked by yellow flowers. And we were picked up by some of the Shuar people, taken in canoes. And this is just a little quick, well, this thing's going fast. And we met with the Shuar people, and we spent time with them. And it was an absolutely life-changing experience for the whole family. And there was one thing. We landed, we went to a little eco lodge, which the Pachamama Foundation and Daniel Cooperman had built. And we then ended up taking some canoes and going into the village to spend some time with the Shuar. And there was the chief sitting on a log, and we were under a thatched palapa type roof. And there was the ladies, or maybe his wives, I don't know, multiple wives, whatever it was. And they drink chicha. So they drink chicha, and chicha is made from ground up manioc root, but it is, the ladies get up early in the morning and they chew it, and they chew it, and they chew it, and they spit it into a container, and then they chew it, and they keep spitting until it's actually drinkable. And this is what they drink. And so we were served with some chicha in a little bowl, and I was sitting beside Devin, who's beside me in this photograph. This is in 2010. This is 11 years ago now. And so I never forget it. So we all have our Lynne sitting over here. We all have our chicha, and we all drink the chicha. We all drink the chicha. And I'm sipping mine because, I like Devin Devin, a little bit of a smart ass here. He drinks it as fast as he can to get it over with. So I thought he was smart. He looks at me with this grin like, I'm done. How much have you got left? And next thing I know is one of the ladies comes from behind the chief, walks out with a little bucket, and he looks at Devin and he fills his back up again.
To the brim. Two times. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's incredible.
And here's just a great photograph of Lynne and Sarah Vetter. Sarah Vetter's she was with us on this journey, and she's a critical component of the Pachamama Alliance right now. And here, here's a little chat that we were having after we did a night-long ceremony with the Ashwar, which that's a whole podcast on itself, which Devin and I'll probably do one day. But I actually came away after this ceremony, and I got back on the flight, and I was in the middle of selling my business, and it just didn't make sense to me. It just didn't. I was going to sell my business for a big bag of cash, and what was I going to do? I was going to go sit on the beach or sell T-shirts. I don't know what I was going to do. And in the ceremony, I had a vision, and the vision told me, it said, Nigel, don't sell your business. Hold on to your business and leverage your business to do good in the world. And I didn't make sense at the time. I flew back to Vancouver, and that's what I did. I flew to London. I took the deal off the table. And so that was in 2011-ish now, about a year later. I pulled the deal up, and I've been using my business and my person and our family to do whatever good that we can contribute and whatever we can do. So it all started from you inviting us to come with you guys deep into the Amazon rainforest and spend time with the Ashwar people. And I just want to, thank you for that. Reiko and I actually, my wife Reiko and I, we had our 20 something anniversary that one of the days we were in there, and you guys put on a nice little thing for us, little celebration. So it was just wonderful. So I just thought I'd throw those photos up there just for
thank you. Those are so
just to bring us back in time a little bit, because
I love that.
We go back a long way. And and so I'm sure our listeners are going, it took me probably 5 years to be able to say the word Pachamama. I had no idea how to say it. I had no idea what it meant. And now it's taking me on this journey where it's just, with shamans and people all over the world. And it's been incredible. So can you tell us a little bit about what the Pachamama Alliance is and how it was formed, and how you guys, why you started? Like, why did you start this group?
Oh my God, that's like a 2-day story, but I'll
short. We could go short on it.
I'll do try to do an abbreviated version of that. So first of all, the word Pachamama, 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 all one word, it means Mother Earth.
Yes. And
it's a Quechua word, and the Quechua people have a larger understanding of reality than we do. Most indigenous people live mostly in the spiritual realm. So for them, it means the earth, the sky, the universe, and all time. That's what Pachamama means to them. In our kind of way of thinking, which is a little bit more limited, it means Mother Earth. And Pachamama Alliance is an alliance between the indigenous peoples of the Amazon rainforest, particularly of the sacred headwaters region, and conscious, committed people in the modern world like you and the people listening to this podcast for the sustainability of life itself. Right. And so indigenous people, they are carrying enormously important wisdom for all of us. And that is part of what the Pachamama Alliance proliferates in the world. But how it began was that I was working for the Hunger Project, as I talked about before, and I went to Guatemala on a mission to help someone with their project, and I ended up in a shamanic ceremony with a man named John Perkins, who is a wonderful trained shaman himself and lived with indigenous peoples of the Amazon for many, many years. And he enrolled me really in starting to think about the Amazon rainforest, starting to think about the environment. I was all about ending world hunger. Yeah. And while we were together, we went to see a shaman in Guatemala, and I had a vision of indigenous people calling for contact. And it turned out to be the Ashwar, actually really calling for contact through what they call the dream communication reality. So whether you can, I know you guys believe that, but whether the listeners can believe that or not, there is a whole world that indigenous people inhabit. It's called, we would call it the dream world.
Yeah.
We don't take it seriously. They take it very seriously. And for them, it's really what determines their future. And so I was called in a very mystical way to go to the Amazon with John Perkins and to bring 10 other people who the indigenous people requested they be 10 people who had global voice, who knew that the rainforest is critical to the future of life, who had open hearts, people who would respect indigenous wisdom and be open to the ways of the shaman.
Yeah.
And so we picked 10 people, and I picked my husband Bill as my number one choice,
Right.
and he said yes and came. And so we all of it, 12 of us went down to Quito, then down down the Valley of the Volcanoes, just like you did, over the eastern side of the Andes, through the Pastaza River Canyon, took small planes into the Amazon, and had our encounter with the Achuar leaders. And they asked for our partnership, and we said yes. And from that encounter, we at Pachamama Alliance work with 25 tribes in Ecuador and Peru that inhabit what's called the sacred headwaters region of the Amazon, the source of the whole Amazon system, which is the source of our whole climate system. So we're working at the source of the source. And they told us at the very outset that working with them was critical, but the real work was to go home where we came from, the modern world, and change the dream of the modern world from a dream that's becoming a nightmare for all forms of life to an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence on this planet, to have that new dream begin to guide humanity. So Pachamama Alliance works in the Sacred Headwaters region to preserve it and put it in permanent protected status with 25 tribes. And from the wisdom learned from that, we proliferate and deliver educational, transformational programs that change the mindset of the human family in 88 countries now. The Awakening the Dreamer Symposium, the Game Changer Intensive, and the Drawdown course are all online courses that really have you wake up to the role that you and I can play at this pivotal time in history to sustain the future of life and transform the dream of the human family. So that's my short version.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, because I remember when we were standing there back at the dirt runway, ready to leave the village. The elders they came out and they looked at us and they said, in Quechua through the translators, Quechua to Spanish, Spanish to English, was, you've now seen, you've been here with us now. If you could go home and help change the dream of the modern world. And that really, really shook me. And yesterday morning, I woke up, I was listening to the radio, CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corp radio. And because of the COVID-19 has been affecting so many people on our planet, the Indigenous people here in Canada, they're having a really difficult time because it's getting into their villages and it's decimating all of their elders and the wisdom keepers. And they're pleading, they're saying, please, please stop this coming in. If whatever you can, people, wear a mask, do whatever it is, because the elders are the wisdom keepers, are wisdom keepers. If they're gone, the wisdom is gone.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely shocking how it's a global thing. And what the elder, said to all of us, to you, to me, is, go and change the dream of the modern world. It completely, it shook me and shook my family. And
Yeah. Well, you certainly did change your own dream and the dream of your children and your wife and everybody who knows you by writing your book, by taking the leap that you took, by demonstrating in your own way, Nigel. I mean, I just got to say, you're one of the most powerful recipients of that message from the Indigenous people that we've ever taken to the Amazon. And I really want to just bow to how deeply you heard their call.
Well,
you've responded.
I really believe, and I've been doing lots of podcasts like yourself too, and I've been so fortunate, to be able to be encouraged by people like yourself to write a book, and people in my class in Boston to write a book. And but I honestly believe that, I'm 58, turning 59 in March, and I honestly believe it's my responsibility to share wisdom, whatever wisdom I have. with the younger generations. And because my network is mostly entrepreneurs around the globe, I think it's our duty. I think it's entrepreneurs' duty is to share whatever wisdom, all the screw ups that we've done before, all the great things that we've been able to do with the younger generations, and be able to help and pass down that wisdom. And I really believe that it's our responsibility to do that. And through vehicles like this, and having people like yourself on the show, and it's really nice that Devin's on, because it's a multi-generational. I'm the old guy, he's the young guy. His network is much bigger than mine, and that's one of the things I know when we talked about going into the Amazon, because I came up to you at the class and I said, Lynne, I really want to come, but I want to bring my family. And you kind of went, okay. And I said, well, hang on a second. My kids are going to come. They're going to experience something incredible, and they're going to come back change, and they're going to share with 2 people, and they're going to share with 4 people, and they're going to share. And I said, my bandwidth is about this much. Their bandwidth is this. They have their whole lives ahead of them to make massive changes. And therefore they came. These guys came, and all of our lives have been completely changed because of that journey, and all of the people that we've come in contact with, and all the people that it's just gone viral, and it all came from a source, which my source is you, and your source is it trickles down, it goes all the way.
Right,
It goes, yeah. So
it's so good to be reminded that, Devin, that your life was changed too. I mean, it's not that I didn't think it was, but I just to see your face and what you're doing now with your life, and that you're doing this podcast, and what a conscious being you are. I mean, that experience is in your heart, I think, forever.
Thank
isn't
you.
it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
actually, Dev, do you have a question there? I'm sure you've got lots.
Yeah, if I got some questions. Yeah, but
Sorry, I
first of all,
was babbling on there. I get so
no.
excited when I talk to Lynn, and I kind of shut you off.
No, but yeah, but you're so true with that, Lynn. It's just like, it just gave me a perspective, a different lens to see the world through at such a young age. I feel like that's so powerful for people who are, in my shoes. And, I was having troubles with school and this and that. And then thinking that materialistic things were everything that I wanted. You see people in nice cars and music videos, and you're like, that's life. This is what life is, right? And then you step away from that and you go, oh my gosh, that has nothing to do with what real living is. And these people in the Amazon are so alive through the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And it's just, it changed everything. I think it changed everything about, obviously my dad's life, but definitely about my life and our family. So.
And we saw the same with the Maasai in Kenya,
Yes.
and the people of Ethiopia that we were so fortunate to go with, Chip Duncan and Salim Amin. Exactly the same. Hey, Dev, it's just
It's just the perspective that you see the world with, right? It's hard to get that from a book or a TV show, but when you actually go to these places and you get to see it firsthand, it's just like, it can't not affect you. You're a human. We have hearts. It's like, it just gets in there.
Yeah.
Messes you up good though.
Yeah. And Devin, how old were you when you did the trip around the world with your family?
Oh, the trip around, I would have been 18 at that point. Yeah.
Oh, wow. God,
just out of high school. So a whole other perspective, a whole different way of life that I was living. I was living party, my friends, try to make some money to buy something nice. My friends were into like nice clothes and jewelry, and you just realize that how little that stuff actually matters. But it's its own, it was its own drastic learning curve. It was, it's incredible. And I'm so thankful for you to getting my dad into it, and then obviously our family getting into it from there.
Yeah.
Did you have a question there for Lynn?
Yes, I do have a question. Yeah, sorry, I got throw it out there.
No, I don't know. No, it's
I started to interview you.
Yeah, exactly. Throw it back.
Oops, I forgot.
But yeah, Lynn, I just want to ask you, what is one of your main life lessons that you've learned through, an unbelievable amount of wisdom that you've gained through the years? What's one of your biggest points to all generations, but younger generations of people who are in my shoes going, oh, I don't really, whatever, materialistic world, that's what we live in, that's what I'm going to do. What would be your message to them to kind of change that mindset or push them in the right direction, if you will?
Well, let's see. What would be my message to them? Well, I think that everyone knows that kind of the shiny objects that we all are sort of brainwashed to want and almost give up our soul to have are not worth the sacrifice we make for them, and how it takes us off course. We all know that. Everybody really knows that. I mean, you knew it in your heart of hearts. And I guess I would say, to find ways to dislodge that pattern from your life, which is what you did by going to the rainforest and then taking your trip around the world. Because those patterns start to create grooves in your brain. We now know from neurosurgeons and neuroplasticity, and it starts to become so habitual, your thinking, that that's the way life really is, that those grooves get deeper and deeper and deeper. But when you have when you interrupt that, when you disrupt that, and I think that's what COVID has done. So I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah.
COVID is a great disruptor, a huge, huge disruptor, a painful disruptor that's taken lives. It's created havoc. It's been, enormous suffering as a result. And it's probably exactly what we needed, or what we need. The indigenous people say, and this is something I would tell young people too, they say, in some primordial place in ourselves, we've been longing for something powerful enough and sacred enough to help us stop a way of living that we knew was not consistent with the long-term future of life. We all knew it, and we were trying to stop, but we didn't know how, because the patterns, the institutions, the power of marketing, the power of the consumer culture, the power of money is so overwhelming that little individuals of good heart, trying to shift the Titanic to go in a different direction, couldn't really do it without something sacred and powerful as an ally. And the indigenous people say that's the virus. The virus comes from the mother. Everything comes from the earth, everything. And the virus has come from the mother to disrupt, interrupt, and not as a punishment, though they're very careful about that, as an ally. This is not happening to us, it's happening for us. We're not the victim of it. It's happening for us. There will be people dying. They already have. There will be horrible sickness. But it is forcing the institutions of humankind that are rooted in a you or me paradigm, a scarcity paradigm. That it's either you make it or I make it, and forget me. If you win, then I lose. That paradigm is no longer valid, and we all know it, but we don't know how to redesign the economy. We don't know how to redesign education. We don't know how to redesign religion. So this disruption, this stop and think and reset, reimagine, recreate, rebuild, redesign is, according to the indigenous people, an announcement, the first announcement of what I'm going to call now this is my words, a long pregnancy and a long birth canal to a new human being, a new way of being. And you could say that the virus is morning sickness. When you're pregnant, when your mom was pregnant, before she knew she was pregnant, she may have gotten sick every morning, thought there was something wrong with her. Then you find out you're pregnant. Oh, this isn't so bad. I'm having a baby. This is a good thing. So I'm just suggesting a reframe that the virus is morning sickness for a culture that's having a baby, that's giving birth to a new kind of human being, a human being that's not caught in scarcity, that can see there's enough for everyone everywhere, a human beings that are very much like your family. And my take on 2020 is that it was the first year of this critical decade in this century called the 21st century. 20 years in, we were given 2020 vision, what I call 2020 vision. All the things that we weren't paying attention to, all the things that were under the radar, swept under the rug, all the things that we hadn't handled were revealed to us, and we're sobered and we're humbled. And in 2021, we have the opportunity to come of age, to really come of age in the 21st century and begin the work that needs to be done in the next 10 years to turn the ship. And so in many ways, And please forgive me if you lost a father or a mother or a sister or a child or a brother for putting it this way. That sacrifice, that horrendous suffering, that tragedy is part of this huge churning and transformation that Indigenous people have predicted for thousands of years that would happen at this particular time. That Pachamama herself, the Great Mother, they have said will humble all her creatures at the beginning of the 21st century. So they find their rightful role and relationship with her so we can go into the next era of balance, what they call balance and light. So that's for young people and old people and middle-aged people and children, that way of holding what's going on. I can't say that it's true or false. I know that these prophecies have been told for thousands of years, and it's powerful to hear them and to put some trust in that something larger than our own ego is in this divine design that's painful, difficult, challenging, sobering, and very, very humbling, which is probably something we needed very much.
Wow, that was remarkable answer. Thanks for asking that question, Devin.
Good question, Devin.
That was very good. Oh my gosh. Well, I know we're running on a little bit here, so we should probably maybe wrap it up. If there's any other little bits and pieces, I know we were going to do 2 truths and a lie, but I think we're going to pass on that because we were into so much other really cool stuff here. Thanks, Lynn. It really means a lot to me, our whole family, and everybody that's we've been able to come in contact with over the past so many years since we've met you. You've really influenced us in an incredible, remarkable way for the good. So thank you, and we just love to share your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Dylan and Reiko and Kina for being such a like a model family for the new future that we all want. I really love you guys so much. It makes me cry. So thank you for having me on your show.
We love you too. We love you so much.
I'll come back anytime.
Okay.
Amazing.
Thanks, Dev. You want to wrap it up?
That'll be the end of our show there. Thank you so much, Lynn, for coming on. That was an amazing interview. And I hope this touches a lot of people's hearts in the right way. If you want to know more about Lynn, all of that information will be in the link in the description. Check out the Pachamama Alliance. But for now, thank you so much, Lynn, for coming up the show. It means so much to me and my father and our family. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Love.
Thank you.
Love you. Have a good rest of your day.
Love you too. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Bye-bye.